Good morning. It's Ginny, Tim, and Eli
Hello.
from DSTech in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We are here to talk to you about 5 ways you can avoid, or 5 tech headaches you can avoid. Pretty simply, actually.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about some of these things before on past episodes, a little bit in more detail, but we're going to cover those for you today.
They're kind of common ones that
Yeah.
happen a lot, so it's good to be prepared.
Yeah, for sure. So we have some good stories. Make sure you go to DSTech.net and sign up for our newsletter, or drop your questions or email us your questions, and sign up for your free security assessment on our website. So,
All right.
we have 5 headaches
Yep.
that none of us have, right? Because
Right,
we
well,
all
never.
follow all the rules and
100%.
follow all of your
the time,
advice
yes.
all the time.
All the time. No one ever, cuts corners. But yeah, no. Basically, there's going to be different things that happen that you can minimize the risk of it happening to you by just taking some steps, being proactive about different things. So the first one is, lowering your chances of just getting hacked in general. So some typical common things you can do with that on all your accounts where it's possible. Make sure you actually set up the 2-factor, whether it be with the rotating codes, the messages, however you prefer it. Any 2-factor is better than no 2-factor. So if you have an account that's out there where they offer 2-factor, set it up. It will be a big security improvement.
I know it's a pain, but
Yeah.
you got to do it.
You gotta
And
do
then-
it.
I don't know how many times people have come to me and said that, like, oh, my Facebook account has been hacked. And I'm like, well, okay, did you put 2-factor on?
Yeah,
and
of course not.
Yep.
What is that?
No, because it's it's too many steps and I can't or I don't know. And I'm like, you gotta.
Yep. Nowadays,
You
it's
gotta.
just
Extra
the way
step.
things are
It's
going and everything's
way
being
too
so
easy.
It's gonna be
interconnected.
okay.
And,
Yeah,
the
it's
data
way
is
too
okay.
easy for them to hack.
I mean, if you have a password, unless your password's like 30 characters long without 2-factor, it's going to be able to, with the modern technology, they can crack passwords faster than they used to be able to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it's just getting faster. So what used to be an 8-character password used to be safe. Now it's 12, now it's 16. Now they go to passphrases where you need 7 words that are 4 characters long with spaces to realistically be safe. So how many people are actually doing that? Not many. So put your 2-factor on is my advice with that.
For sure.
Definitely.
And I know at work we have sometimes 3 and more factor.
Yes. Just
So-
log into this one, log into this to finally get in here. Yep. But yeah, more
And
layers.
yeah,
Security and convenience, they're always at the opposite end of the spectrum. That's just the way
Yeah.
it goes. Kind of tying into that is if you've ever had a dark web compromise on your password for your account and you are one that reuses the same password places, even as much as it used the password, but you changed the last, say the year, the date, or the last 4 on it, that's still going to be a compromise where someone's going to take that password and try to log into every single one of your accounts with it, which is the importance of why you never want to reuse your password from one account to the next, which then will tie into the next one, which is if you can,
Number 2.
using a password manager. This is still kind of actually on the same topic about lowering your
Yeah.
chances of getting hacked, but the password manager, if you have one of those, because then you can have unique, crazy character passwords you never have to remember, and it's going to help you log in, and that will for sure be the safest way you can go with it. Like 1Password, Keeper, different password managers that are out there, just kind of, they all do the same thing for the most part, but any password manager will be better than just trying to use your own passwords, rotating them and all that kind of stuff.
we have one for our customers, right?
I think we're evaluating one because we originally were using LastPass, but
Ah.
because of the breach, we're kind of looking at some others.
Okay.
So internally, I know, we're looking at Keeper and 1Password and some of the other ones that we're kind of just vetting
Oh,
them.
yeah.
We want to try them before we
bought
actually
us
sell
an
them.
account.
Oh, very nice.
Duh.
And make sure that it works well before we're going to just sell it to our customers. So we're currently evaluating the new ones, and then obviously once we've tested it for a month or 2 and we're like, yep, this is a keeper.
This works.
No pun intended with Keeper if it works, but then we'll go ahead and push that forward to our customers.
Is
and
Keeper a
recommend it.
keeper?
Yeah,
That's
we
the
don't
next
know
question.
yet, but we like to evaluate before we sell it. So.
We do.
So the second big topic is kind of preparing for your device deaths. By that I mean if you have a phone that's getting 3-4 years old, or you have a computer that's getting towards the end of its life, it wouldn't hurt to take the extra time to make sure you have all the data off of that before the disaster happens, where the device fully is not functioning and then you can't even get the data off it anymore. I advise when you first get a cell phone, set it up properly right out of the gate. Make sure you have it automatically backups turned on, syncing to your Google account, your iPhone account, whatever you have there, like your pictures, your contacts, all that kind of stuff, because it's a big pain in the butt where if you lose everything and get a new phone, you have to re-put all your contacts back in. That kind of thing can be kind of time consuming.
Which now, I mean, since I do have my Google account set up, it's so easy when I get a new phone.
Yeah.
I just plug it in, put my
Wait.
password in and wait, and it installs all the apps
Yep.
and it sets up all my contacts. It's ready
So-
to go. And I'm sure the Apple phone does the
Boom,
same
boom,
thing.
boom.
Yeah. And then most places push you towards that now too. So very
Yeah.
few people aren't doing that. But just if you
But
don't have that
if
kind of
you
stuff,
don't, yeah.
turn on. Definitely get that set up with the syncing of your contacts, all that kind of stuff.
Do you have Find
Um,
My Phone in there?
That's what I was going to put on here. Is you
Yeah.
want to turn on the tracking in case it's stolen. So like the Android,
Yes.
the iPhones, they both have this where your phone gets stolen. You can log into like a website and see exactly in real time where it's at to see if is it just sitting there, is it actually actively moving, and then that what pairs into that is most of them now have essentially like a kill wipe command
Mhm.
where if you get your phone stolen, you can send a command to it and then it will essentially, as long as it has some sort of internet connectivity or the second it does connect to the internet, it will basically wipe everything off the phone. The idea is if someone were actually steal your phone and they're trying to take it to their house to break into it, to crack it,
Yep.
the second that phone connects to the internet, it'll wipe and there won't be any data on it for them to take from you. So you make sure you have that set up. I know iPhones for sure do that, and I believe the Android has something similar as
They
well
do.
now with the Google
Yes, they do.
account. So
Yep.
so make sure you enable that. It's not usually enabled by default, so just take the time to set it up. And so yeah, that's what I say. Preparing for your phone death. Make sure that if something happens to the phone, you can just restore it easily by having a good backup of all your information that's secure as well.
I use it all the time to find my phone too.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh gosh, we do it all too.
Oh, okay, Alexa, find my phone because I know it's somewhere, and then I'll hear it. And
So does it ring automatically for you, or does
Yeah.
it just give you like a GPS coordinate, or does it? How
I
does
can
that-
do either.
Okay.
If I log in on my computer and say
That's the one I've seen where
Yeah.
it shows you, but then that's only accurate within so far.
Yeah.
So if you're
But
in
then
your
I
house
can
and you
tell it.
lost it,
to ring,
oh, that's
and it
Yep.
will ring
Yep.
continuously until you pick it up.
Oh,
If
We
the
do that
battery's
too.
not dead.
We do that with
But-
our iPhones at home.
All the time.
Oh,
All the
awesome.
time.
All the
That's
time.
cool.
I'm like, oh, dude, because it takes forever. You're like digging through all the places you've
Right.
been, or
Which
if
couch
I
cushions it under?
right,
Right.
or did I leave it in the car? I don't know, but I just ring it, and
Yeah.
then I go to all those. I can find it. I
Yeah.
usually hear it right away. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, definitely take
Saves you
advantage of
some
those
time.
features.
Definitely.
Now, if only the remote could ring when you lose the remote, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, but
that'd
then
be
you
the
can
key.
use those tiles, right?
That's true. Tiles
Right.
can sync
Yeah.
that too. Yeah. So.
That's another topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the third topic, kind of going in this, is the importance of like talking about technology nowadays and social media, basically with your kids and your teenagers, just because the way that
Mhm.
things are nowadays, so connected. Everyone's just trying to get the likes and stuff. And as a kid, you don't really realize the ramifications of posting every little nuance on social media. So basically, making sure to talk with them about limiting what they're posting, the importance of what is safe, what is not safe to post. Obviously, it's going to be tailored different for every family, but that's it's an important conversation to have.
Yeah.
Talk about the bullying and harassment that goes on, because you do see that too often, unfortunately, in schools
Yeah.
where social media, all the kids will game come one or the other. So obviously, if you can, make sure you explain to your kid that's not a good behavior to have, and just kind of go forward with that. So just kind of talking about that, and maybe being aware of the accounts that they have. Ask them, hey, do you have a Snapchat? Do you have YouTube? Ask them what accounts they have, because you as a parent may not know all the different accounts that they're signing up for. So it's important to be aware of all those accounts, and then taking the time to even just go into the privacy settings of the accounts, and disabling certain things that don't need to be shared, and things
Yeah.
like that as well.
Now I don't know. My kids are older now, but I used to have an app that kind of kept an eye on what was going on
Okay.
their electronic devices for me.
Yep.
I think it was called Net Nanny. Does that
Yep.
sound?
I think that's.
I don't know if that exists anymore, but
Um,
I'm sure there's other. I'm
Yep.
sure there is.
And there's phone monitoring software, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you can install that will limit the apps they can install. If you have one that you don't want to have any apps installed, there are ways to lock a device down where you can give it to them, and they'll have to give
And
you
then
approval for
they have
whatever
ones
they
that
do.
will track their time on the device and say, okay, well, you've been on it too long,
Right.
on this app.
You get 2 hours a day. Beyond that, you
Right.
have to ask
Yep.
or whatever it is.
Yeah. So there was that too, but you can't avoid it.
Mhm.
You
Yep,
can't
so-
avoid it.
Yep. So just
So
this is
have the
best-
discussion.
Yep.
Do what you need to do to keep those devices in check a little bit, because they're addictive.
Yep. No,
For sure.
they're designed to be addictive on
Yeah.
purpose. They're
Of
they're meant
course.
for to get the dopamine.
I mean,
hit
there's a
constantly,
reason why-
It's just the way it is. Yeah.
There's
So,
a reason why I wasted
um,
hours on TikTok.
yeah.
I mean, seriously.
No, myself, it's addicting.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this? What's this? And then
Way
Okay,
too easy to
stop.
do it.
Look
Yeah.
at how much time went by. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's just an important conversation to have. And then one that kind of is similar to that, but is a separate topic here, so I got something in my eye, is having the same discussion, or not really a discussion, but be aware of either grandparents or elderly folks' phones and stuff like that. Because a lot of times, like with my dad, he'll get a brand new phone from Verizon and everything's just enabled by default. And so it's sharing all of his data to all the apps. It's like, why does my weather app need my contacts? Well, it doesn't. You can disable those things and limit the device what they're actually doing, because a lot of those applications are taking that data, selling it to third parties, and that's kind of how they make money on a lot of the free apps. So by limiting what the apps can actually access in your phone and just being aware of that. And then I do the same thing for my dad's phone that I would do for my own. I want to enable this automatic syncing, make sure that he can wipe his device from the internet if you want, the tracking's turned on, all that kind of stuff. You want to do it for those that may not know how to do it, that are elderly, that, again, just they get the phones and they're not aware. And those are the ones that are more likely to be scammed from people that try to get their information and give them fake calls and convince them to send them or whatever.
Yeah, so have the spam blocker on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And then limit what the same thing, go
It works
through,
really well.
if you have the time, go
really
through
does.
your parents' social media and Facebook. Make sure you go to those privacy settings and disable some stuff, things like that too, that maybe doesn't need to be shared all across the board. So similar, just assist the elderly the same as with the younger devices. Just make sure the devices are good, they're locked down, and that they're not sharing too much data, and be good to go for restoring if they did drop it in a puddle or lose it or something like that. So
yeah.
Kind of going into the last one, I kind of touched on it a little bit in the previous two topics, but really drilling into the last one is look at the privacy settings for each individual app, whether it be the app on your phone or the account settings on Facebook. For example, you can go into your settings, your privacy, and they usually have features called, share my data to make my experience better. They'll try to word it in a way that sounds like if you disable this, you're going to lose certain features of the program. And a lot of it is just
collecting data.
It's just collecting data for advertisers to try
They
to
can target
better
ads.
ads.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if you don't care about getting ads on Facebook,
Which
which
is
most
kinda
people
cool,
don't,
but-
they just want to go on Facebook.
That's just me.
You can go through and disable all that stuff. Now, the nice thing with those privacy features, if you turn a bunch of them off and all of a sudden your social media didn't act like it did before, and you're like, you know what, I don't like this, you can always toggle them back on again.
Yeah.
The thing is, most of them are on by default, and so by going through and kind of restricting what is shared, you can definitely clean that up a little bit. So same thing, whether it's Facebook, YouTube account, any social media account all have privacy settings. You want to just verify and limit what they access based on what you want them to do. So
cool, good information.
Thank you.
So the 5 things we avoided were getting hacked. Really,
yeah, lower your chances of getting your accounts compromised or hacked was the first one, using the password, good password practices. Second one would be, preparing for the ultimate device death. When the device does fail, make sure you have your backup syncing, all that kind of stuff. 3 and 4 were essentially having a good conversation with their kids about social media, checking their devices for security, all that kind of stuff. And then 4 would be the same reverse for them, the elderly, check their devices, social media, make sure they're all secure and not sharing too much. And then the final topic would be to actually take the time to go into the individual apps or the individual accounts, and then limit again what the apps are sharing in the privacy settings to only for what they need it for. So.
Cool. So those are just a few, because we could actually talk forever on
The potential for headaches.
right? Right? Because we know where the headaches come from, and we know how to avoid them.
Yes.
So if you're a business, there are definitely things you can put in place to protect your data and all that kind of stuff. So if you have questions about that, visit our website and sign up for our free security assessment or walkthrough. We have walkthroughs where we look at your stuff and make recommendations for you, or email your questions at security@DSTech.net, or drop your questions here. We will answer them, and maybe we'll have a whole episode based on your questions. So
That's right.
The biggest one with this is the dark web scans that we offer. We'll check for all existing password compromises, and if you do have a password that's on that list, you want to obviously change that on the social media immediately, and across the board, never reuse that password anymore.
that one always seems shocking,
Yeah.
because then you're like,
Oh, yeah.
whoa, I didn't know my email was out there.
Well, yeah, because it's, you signed up for a Target account, 10 years ago, and it happened to be a password you used, and it's big data breaches. That's where they all kind of stem from. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so make it a great day. We'll see you on the next episode.